Welcome to the channel. If you're someone who loves great stories, timeless genius, and the mystery behind history's most brilliant minds, you're in the right place. Today, we're diving into the extraordinary life of William Shakespeare, the man who transformed the English language, reshaped theater forever, and left behind words so powerful that even after for centuries, they still echo in our hearts. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring, knowledge-packed stories like this one. Now sit back, relax, and let's journey into the world of Shakespeare, the poet, the playwright, and the man who became immortal through his words. William Shakespeare was born on April 23, 1564, in the small but vibrant town of Stratford-upon-Avon, England. His father, John Shakespeare, was a glove maker and local businessman, while his mother, Mary Arden, came from a respected farming family. William was the third of 8 children, born into a household that valued work, wit, and faith. Little is known about Shakespeare's childhood, but historians agree he attended the King's New School in Stratford, where he likely studied Latin, Greek, history, and classic literature. These early lessons built the foundation for his lifelong mastery of language. Imagine a young William sitting in a wooden classroom, reading stories of ancient Rome and Greece, not knowing that one day he would rewrite the art of storytelling itself. His formal education probably ended around the age of 15. His father's financial troubles might have forced him to leave school early, which means most of what Shakespeare became, the genius, the poet, the dramatist, he taught himself. He was, in every sense, self-made. Between 1585 and 1592, there's a mysterious gap in Shakespeare's life known as the lost years. No one truly knows what he did during this period. Some say he worked as a teacher. Others believe he joined a traveling theater troupe. There are even legends that he fled Stratford after poaching a deer on a nobleman's land. What's certain is this: by the early 1590s, Shakespeare had found his way to London, the beating heart of England's theater scene. London at that time was alive with creativity and chaos, crowded streets, political tension, and the growing popularity of stage plays. Theaters like the Rose and the Curtain were filled with audiences from all walks of life, from noblemen to commoners. And among the actors and playwrights struggling for fame, one name began to rise: William Shakespeare. By 1592, Shakespeare was already making waves as both an actor and a playwright. A jealous rival, Robert Greene, once mocked him in a pamphlet, calling him an upstart crow beautified with our feathers. It was meant as an insult, but it proved something else. Shakespeare had arrived. He joined a theater company called the Lord Chamberlain's Men, one of the most successful acting troupes in London. He wasn't just a performer. He was the creative heart of the group. Every new play he wrote drew larger crowds. People from every corner of London flocked to see his works, because his plays weren't just entertainment, they were mirrors of real life. While most playwrights of his time wrote for the elite, Shakespeare wrote for everyone. He understood the soul of ordinary people. His characters were relatable, his humor timeless, and his tragedies breathtaking. In 1599, Shakespeare and his company built the Globe Theatre, a round wooden structure on the banks of the River Thames. It was more than a theater, it was an empire of imagination. On that stage, his greatest creations came alive: Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet, Othello, Macbeth, and King Lear. Imagine standing in that open-air theater, surrounded by the roar of London's crowd, as Shakespeare's words filled the air. To be, or not to be, that is the question. These weren't just lines, they were lightning. His plays explored love, ambition, jealousy, betrayal, and the fragility of the human mind. Each performance was an event that stirred the city's heart. Even Queen Elizabeth I herself was a fan. She often invited Shakespeare's troupe to perform at court, and later, under King James I, they became known as the King's Men. What made Shakespeare truly remarkable was not just the number of plays he wrote, it was the depth of them. He didn't just write stories, he captured the very essence of human nature. In Romeo and Juliet, he showed the tragedy of young love. In Macbeth, he revealed how ambition can destroy the soul. In Othello, he exposed the poison of jealousy. In Hamlet, he explored the darkness of the human mind. He invented over 1,700 new words, terms like lonely, radiance, swagger, and bedazzled. He transformed English forever. Even today, we quote him without realizing it. Break the ice, wild goose chase, heart of gold, wear your heart on your sleeve. All these expressions came from his pen. But what's even more fascinating is how modern his themes still feel. His characters face the same emotions we face today: love, fear, ambition, insecurity, betrayal. That's why his works never die. Despite his fame, Shakespeare remained humble and private. He married Anne Hathaway at just 18, and together they had 3 children, Susanna, and twins Hamnet and Judith. Tragically, his only son, Hamnet, died at the age of 11, a loss that may have inspired the grief in Hamlet and King John. Many scholars believe that his tragedies reflected the pain and loss he endured in silence. Financially, he was incredibly successful, not just as a writer, but as a shareholder in the theater company. He invested in property, earning enough to retire comfortably in his hometown of Stratford. But fame didn't change him. He returned to Stratford in the early 1600s, bought a large house called New Place, and spent his final years there, living quietly and writing occasionally. William Shakespeare died on April 23, 1616, the same date he was born, at the age of 52. His death was peaceful, surrounded by family and friends. But his legacy was immortal. He was buried in the Holy Trinity Church in Stratford-upon-Avon, where his tombstone still lies today. The epitaph on it famously warns, "Good friend, for Jesus' sake forbear to dig the dust enclosed here. Blessed be the man that spares these stones, and cursed be he that moves my bones." Even in death, his wit remained alive. 400 years later, Shakespeare's influence touches everything, from literature and movies to politics and psychology. His plays have been translated into every major language and performed in over 100 countries. Every time a film like The Lion King retells Hamlet, or a romantic comedy echoes Much Ado About Nothing, Shakespeare lives again. Every time someone says love is blind, or all that glitters is not gold, they unknowingly quote him. He wrote at a time when there was no internet, no microphones, no printing presses as we know them, yet his words reached eternity. Writers like Charles Dickens, James Joyce, and Tolstoy admired him. Even today, modern artists and filmmakers draw from his stories. Because his insight into human emotion, the complexity of the heart, remains unmatched. Some have questioned whether Shakespeare truly wrote all his plays. Skeptics argue that someone of his modest education couldn't have produced such profound works. They've suggested names like Francis Bacon, Christopher Marlowe, or even Queen Elizabeth herself. But most historians agree, Shakespeare was real, and he earned every line of his genius through relentless imagination, observation, and passion. He understood that greatness doesn't come from birth or privilege, it comes from understanding humanity. Shakespeare's life teaches us that ordinary beginnings can lead to extraordinary destinies. He was not born a nobleman. He didn't have elite education or powerful connections. He simply had words and the courage to use them. He teaches us resilience, that even when the world doubts you, your talent can speak louder than your circumstances. He teaches us empathy through characters who mirror our fears and desires. He teaches us immortality, not through living forever, but by creating something that never dies. William Shakespeare's story isn't just about literature, it's about life. It's about a man who captured every emotion we've ever felt, long before we knew how to describe it. When you read Romeo and Juliet, you feel the fire of first love. When you hear E.T. 2, Brute, you feel the sting of betrayal. When you listen to Thine Own Self Be True, you remember who you are. Shakespeare's magic lies in his timelessness. He reminds us that centuries may change, but the human heart does not. So, the next time you hear a line from his plays, pause and remember, these words were written by a man from a small town, with a big dream and a pen that changed the world. If you enjoyed this deep, story-driven journey into the life of William Shakespeare, don't forget to subscribe and like this video. We bring you stories of visionaries, dreamers, and creators who shaped our world, and there's so much more to come. Until next time, keep learning, keep dreaming,